Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world, one book at a time.
So Suzanne Collins is dropping us right back into Panem, this time for the 50th Hunger Games. This is the Second Quarter Quell, which means things are even more brutal. We're talking double the tributes. And we get to see it all through the eyes of a young Hamish Abernathy. But here's the thing. This book isn't really about a contest. It's a deep dive into a system, a meticulously designed machine built for one thing: control. And Hamish? He's our guide, showing us how all the gears turn from the inside.
You know, to really get a grip on this system, we have to start right where the book does, with this quote from the philosopher David Hume. He's basically asking, how on earth do a handful of people in power control massive populations? And his answer? It's all based on opinion. And that, right there, is the central question for our analysis. How does a regime like the Capitol convince millions of people in the districts to just accept their own oppression? Well, it's all about manufacturing that opinion, that consent.
Okay, so let's first look at the public face of this thing. What everyone is meant to see. You could call it the ceremony of control. So on the surface, the Capitol isn't calling this what it is, a slaughter. Oh no, they brand it as a sacred ceremony. And they spin it two ways at once. It's punishment for the old rebellion, but it's also this big unifying national party. It's actually a brilliant, if terrifying, piece of branding. They take state-sanctioned murder and package it as a tradition that brings everyone together. And that's the official story, the one everyone is forced to swallow, whether they like it or not. But of course, that's just the surface story. Underneath that shiny ceremony is something much, much darker. Let's pull back the curtain and take a look at the real blueprint, the architecture of fear.
And right at the heart of this whole thing, it's propaganda. Collins actually starts the book with this incredible quote from George Orwell, and it's a great reminder that propaganda isn't always about telling outright lies. Sometimes it's about twisting the truth to serve the people in power. We see a perfect example of this in the book with the 5-minute broadcast delay on the reapings. Think about that. It gives the Capitol the power to literally edit reality, to snip out any sign of defiance before anyone in the other districts can see it. What everyone gets is this clean, perfectly controlled version of events.
Okay, so this is really the core of it all. The Hunger Games, they're not a game, they're a machine. And this machine is designed for one single purpose: to take the Capitol's brute force, their raw power, and transform it into something that feels like legitimate authority. And how does it do that? Well, it turns violence into a yearly ritual. It turns the simple act of survival into an act of complicity. And it takes trauma and turns it into a tool of control.
So, how does this machine actually work? What are the gears and levers? Let's break down the specific mechanisms of submission.
All right, first up, spectacle. Think about the reaping ceremonies, the flashy parades, the tearful interviews. All of it is mandatory viewing. The Capitol basically turns state violence into the biggest reality TV show of the year. But here's the twist. The citizens aren't just watching a show. They are forced to be participants in a performance of their own submission. Just by tuning in, they're playing their part. They're implicitly accepting the Capitol's authority.
Next up is how this system uses trauma as a weapon. I mean, every single year, the games serve as this horrific, brutal reminder of what happened the last time the districts rebelled. And the book gives us this absolutely chilling example. A boy named Woodbine Chance tries to make a run for it during the reaping. And he isn't just caught. No, he's executed right there on the spot. And his death is broadcast for the entire nation to see. His private, personal tragedy is instantly transformed into a very public warning. This is what happens when you step out of line.
And finally, there's maybe the most insidious tool of all: survival itself. Think about it. For a tribute to have any chance, what do they have to do? They have to play the game. They have to accept the rules. They have to woo sponsors. They have to fight. One of the characters in the book calls this implicit submission, because the very act of trying to win, of trying to survive, means you are, in a way, validating the very system that put you there to die. It's a brutal catch-22.
Okay, so we've seen the goal is control, and we've seen the mechanisms it uses. So what is this whole machine actually producing? What's the real product here?
I mean, just think about it for a second. The vast majority of tributes are going to die, and the one person who survives is sent home completely traumatized. So they can't be the real winners, right? So what is?
The real product, the thing that truly wins every single year, is the system itself. It's a cycle that just keeps feeding itself. And what does it feed on?
It feeds on its survivors. See, the victors aren't set free. Not really. They are consumed by the very system they just beat. Haymitch realizes this in the most horrifying way. His fate isn't freedom. It's to become a mentor. He's forced to go back year after year and coach more kids to their deaths. He becomes a permanent, living symbol of the games that broke him.
And that really brings us to a final, bigger question. Haymitch gets to move into the victor's village, but he sees it for what it is, just another, fancier capital cage. And what this book really helps us understand is that the most effective prisons, the strongest cages, aren't built from iron bars. They're built from things like manufactured opinion and ritualized violence, and maybe most importantly, the illusion of choice. So what makes a cage truly inescapable? It's when you don't even realize you're in one.
For the full, long-form deep dive into this book and its ideas, follow the link in the description.
If you enjoy this kind of systems-level analysis, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.